Ever since its initial inception, social media has always dared to answer the questions everybody else has been too afraid to ask. Like, what happens if you give 45-year-olds access to online meme generators? Do you want to see how every single other person you've ever met in life is way more successful than you'll ever be? And most of all, how many slurs can that person you sort of knew in high school say before you're legally allowed to block them and not feel bad? Oh god. That's a new one. But if you ever spent more than half a second doom scrolling through any of these bad boys over the past few years, you may have noticed an alarming trend. Don't these all suck now? From the explosion of a certain kind of bot, ads being thrust down our throat every half second, to just a sheer megaton of copyright infringement, joke theft and overall lack of originality in every sense of the word. What once was a groundbreaking, innovative way to connect with your family and friends without having to send them a handwritten note like we're in the trenches of the Somme, has now morphed into a cesspool of hatred, scams and funny dog videos. But whilst I accidentally stumbled upon the topic of this video whilst going down the rabbit hole searching for another video, minutes turned into hours, days turned into weeks, and now it's June and I haven't uploaded a video since February. Sorry about that. This is why! I need to get this information out of me somehow. It's either this or lay me under a hydraulic press and squeeze it out of me like Play-Doh. So if you can, sit down, grab a snack or 2 or 3 or 4, I won't judge you, and come with me on a journey that broke my brain over the past few months, as I strive to prove how yes, every single one of your opinions were correct, my head is this big, the world is broken, and everything was better in the past, as we look at...
Now, if I asked you whether you'd poked anyone this week, you'd either think I was rather rude, or you'd know I was referring to Facebook, one of the world's fastest growing websites.
Facebook losing $119 billion in market value today alone.
The social media giant appearing to be in disarray after as many as half of its employees were laid off under new owner Elon Musk.
You know, I think as a species, we're hardwired to romanticize and eulogize the times that came before us. No matter what we have in front of us, we can never be satisfied. We're in a state of constantly craving, constantly wishing for something more. Something different.
Some of the fences hold, others do not. A minor miracle is mounted by the fact that there are no injuries spread among the near hysterical crowd. This truly is a social document for our time.
Just ask them in Fredericton, where 48 of the bug-eyed beasts were put on sale at a local Walmart. And one of the clerks was sent to hospital after being trampled in the frenzy.
Okay, this one I can actually get behind. You know, there was a time decades and decades ago when social media first burst onto the scene. It was seen as this cool new place to hang out.
It can get quite addictive, and I know some offices, some of my friends work in, it's actually been banned and blocked in work.
I don't know, usually I would say probably an hour a day, if not sometimes more.
I wouldn't admit to being on Facebook for any amount of hours, but I think I'd say at least half an hour.
As a kid, you couldn't go a day without hearing about it at the time, like an ethereal whisper spread amongst the playground's elite. It was rumoured that there were these things called websites where you could go and play games. God, imagine the power I could wield with such a device. So in 2008, as a tiny child, I was so small, growing up in the middle of nowhere, you can't blame me for eventually caving in. After a hard-fought, year-long campaign from my friends trying to convince me, I went against the best wishes of my parents, and I did the unthinkable. I made a Facebook account. You may think I'm being dramatic here, but I'm British. I basically lived in black and white for most of my childhood, so this was huge. Instead of wasting away the days throwing rocks into the river or cleaning chimneys for loose change, Facebook had games and quizzes, and that was about it back then. But again, no chimney cleaning. This was massive. Gone were the days of tactically negotiating with your friends on a horse and carriage ride home from school, or feeling like you're negotiating your way out of a hostage situation when you're trying to convince someone's mum to let their kid outside to kick a ball against a curb for 30 minutes. You could easily keep your friends updated at the mere click and tap of only 5 to 6 buttons, allowing Tiny Henry to post such groundbreaking things as, "What alcohol are you?" And keep in mind, I looked like this in 2008, so the most adventurous beverage Henry had had back then was probably Fanta Lemon. Amongst my circle of friends, Facebook was the first big bombshell that introduced us all to the wide world of the internet. But for most of you watching this, depending on when or where you grew up, it could have been any of these bad boys. It could have been this, or this, or this. I think I've got to call the police. Oh, Lord, sorry about this. This happens a lot. I've just got this nifty thing called electronic mail on my computer machine. Do you want to know what it says? Apparently, the world existed before me and will continue to exist after me in an endless expanse of all-consuming darkness, where one day light itself will struggle to survive as we are reduced to mere atoms within this vast multiverse. so I guess there's a few social media sites I missed out on.
3, 2, 1, happy 1995!
1995, Mariah Carey was dominating the charts, I wasn't alive, and the Batman Forever was taking over the globe. Yet in the background, this little newfangled invention called the internet was starting to explode.
Well, it's very hip to be on the internet right now.
Millions of Americans own a personal computer. If you're one of them, you can now glimpse the future with nothing more than a modem, a phone line, and a few dollars a month.
What once was a neat contraption allowing certain employees to access their company's computer network with ease had now morphed into a mainstream commodity. Thanks to a number of factors like steep competition within the burgeoning computer market, the emergence of the Mosaic browser, and just the sheer curiosity of owning something that goes tippity-tap. This must be what Nirvana feels like.
As the new year begins, an estimated 2.5 million computers will be on the network.
Interest in the internet was starting to kick off. This can be easily seen by the sheer eruption that was taking place in the world of web design. Truly the nerdiest sentence I've ever said. Let's see if we beat it throughout the remainder of this video. We definitely are. I've already written the script. But Henry, I hear you all scream, what makes those websites so darn interesting? Well, if white pages filled with a lot of text get you in the mood, you're in for a wild ride. Although initially considered to be nothing more than a fad, interest in this brand new world was starting to rear its head. So much so that in November of that same year, a bright-faced nobody by the name of Bill Gates decided to go on CBS's Late Show with David Letterman to talk about this interesting new contraption. Oh yeah, and keep in mind whilst watching this that at this current moment in time, Bill Gates is the world's richest person whose net worth has shot up by well over $10 billion since 1990, reaching a total of $12.9 billion in 1995, made primarily from selling computers, and not just some random intern they whacked in front of the camera. And back to David.
But you know, I think about this, and what about this internet thing? Do you know anything about that?
Sure.
What the hell is that exactly?
Well, it's become a place where people are publishing information.
Right.
So everybody can have their own homepage, companies are there, the latest information. It's wild what's going on. You can send electronic mail to people. It is the big new thing.
Yeah, but you know, it's easy to criticize something you don't fully understand, which is my position here.
Go ahead.
But I can remember a couple of months ago, there was like a big breakthrough announcement that on the internet or on some computer deal, they were going to broadcast a baseball game. You could listen to a baseball game on your computer. And I just thought to myself, does radio ring a bell? You know what I mean? It's just...
There's a difference.
There is a difference.
It's not a huge difference.
What is the difference?
But you can listen to the baseball game whenever you want.
All right.
Too.
Oh, I see. So it's stored in one of your memory deals,
exactly.
And then you can come
That's
back
the
a year
RAM
later.
Thing you talked about earlier.
Yeah. Do tape recorders ring a bell?
It's made all the more impressive by the fact the thing that he's openly mocking here absolutely cannibalised his entire industry and left nothing but a Jimmy Fallon and James Corden shaped hole in the ground. It would be like if the dinosaurs started taking the piss out of the meteor, or if human beings were completely oblivious to the signs of a global pandemic. Oh. Spider-Man fever's back, baby, and I'm showing symptoms. Doc, so is the web shooting terminal, or should I not really worry about it? By no means was Letterman alone in his criticism here. 1995 was a year full of absolutely game-changing home runs, with expert after expert stepping up to the plate to try and dissuade people from even looking at the internet, but time after time each one would accidentally let loose an absolute backbreaker. The truth is, no online database will replace your daily newspaper, no CD-ROM can take the place of a competent teacher, and no computer will change the way the government works. I mean, they're not wrong. Who even uses CD-ROMs anymore? And of course, with every hilariously wrong prediction, there's always one that shakes your self-of-being to its very core, opening your eyes to the truly depressing post-apocalyptic reality we've all found ourselves in. Now it's computers and more computers, and soon everybody will have one. 3-year-olds will have computers, and everybody will know everything about everybody else long before they meet them. Keep in mind, Bukowski died in 1994, and this is what computers looked back then. This just makes me want to whack on a cowboy hat and stay underground in a bunker that's definitely not safe for a very long time. This was only compounded when I started started to look at the origins of what we know as social media. As is the case for every Disney villain's backstory, social media started out with purely innocent intentions before being twisted and manipulated into the horrifying garbage fire that we have to witness on a daily basis. I mean, you don't just go from being born to wanting to turn a kid into a llama. There has to be some steps that we obviously missed out on. One of the main precursors to the idea of social media actually came out in the latter stages of '95, where former Boeing manager Randy Conrad set up a site called Classmates, which, if you couldn't tell from the incredibly cryptic name, allowed you to connect with your classmates.
50 million people around the world joined up to find old friends and sweethearts. The buzz didn't last.
Then I realized I really don't want to be in touch with them anymore.
Then, jumping ahead a few years to May 1997, we have the introduction of what's thought of as the first social networking site, called 6 Degrees. Which was founded on the idea that only 6 degrees of separation separate every human being, which is both a incredibly wholesome and horrifying thought. You're telling me that Mr. Blobby and Freddy Krueger both know somebody who knows 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 me? I need some new friends. However horrifying that idea is, 6 Degrees let loose a series of truly cataclysmic dominoes that would have a major impact on how you live your life to this very day, with the site putting a heavy focus on this idea of profile creation and letting you post dumb things to people en masse, not just individuals. And unlike Conrad's creation, 6 Degrees moved away from solely communicating with your classmates, shifting towards communicating with your close circle of friends.
What has incredible relevance is 2 degrees. It's my friend's friend. It's that more often than not, I can meet the people I don't know through the people I do know.
But again, the root of all social media at this point was the root of solidifying existing relationships you had with people you already knew, like your classmates or your friends, not anybody else. This is mainly out of necessity more than anything else, as any wide-reaching ambitions for connecting with people across the globe would always be limited by how many people actually use the internet, which according to the IDC was only about 1.7% of the world's population in 1997. So even if you wanted to reach people from across the globe, you better learn how to use a fountain pen and get some stamps, buddy. Whereas just 20 years later, that number balloons to 51.7%, which may not seem like a lot, but just look at the numbers for the UK and the US on their own. Why limit yourself to only talking to Jim from down the pub? There's a world of unlimited Jims from unlimited pubs across the world that could be interested in the things that you're interested in more than boring Jim at the pub you already know. And the best part, you don't even have to see another human being. That's like actually my dream. Opposed to the early days where it felt more along the lines of a novelty, this neat tool solely helping you contact family and friends separated by state lines, it's slowly morphed into a far-reaching globalised monstrosity that monetizes your every thought. And guess what? If you don't like it, there's not really much you can do about it. Surely you could delete it all or only make a Finsta account where you only stay in contact with your closest friends. But what if you're missing something on your main account? Someone could be having a ha-ha without you! Our generation has been brought up on the idea that self-worth is intrinsically tied to how many people like your profile picture or put fire emojis under your mirror selfie. Do people still do that? I don't know. And what feeds that desire? A constant spiral of comparison and competition with a bunch of people you don't know and probably never will do. When we were teeny children discovering this behemoth for the first time, it felt like the secret hideout that only we knew about, from where in one brief moment you could go from posting nonsense like this on someone's wall to asking your friends to rate you based on your looks, personality and closeness. And again, I looked like this in 2008, not getting many favourable replies to that post. What once was this personalised space where you were free to be an idiot has slowly morphed into this minefield. Do you remember when we actually used to put albums for nights out or parties? You used to just whack all the photos and it would be like you with a glow stick or like this, and you'd look like that and post that photo on your wall and people would like it. And now there's a fear that like employers will see it. It's just awful. It got so bad at the time that Mr. Zuckerberg himself had to address it publicly on several occasions, like this one all the way back in 2013. Maybe electricity was cool when it first came out, but pretty quickly people stopped talking about it because it's not the new thing. A few people turning their lights on because it isn't cool. Yeah, but Mark, when I turn my light on, I don't have to worry about it sending me a Minions meme with subtly racist undertones. What's more shocking than that? If Facebook wasn't cool in 2013, what does it look like now? But does the water come free? When you're first introduced to something new, it's like a breath of fresh air, a shock of lightning directly mainlined into your system as your body and mind is met with a whole new experience to unpack, a whole new puzzle to solve. But unless that puzzle stays exciting, fresh and intriguing, we're all going to abandon it for the next best thing, especially when there's so many other puzzles to choose from. And at least 0.5% of these don't harvest my data. 0.4 maybe. This wide array of choices may have once seemed enticing. No matter what mood you were in, there was always a place to post your dumb ideas, your dumb photos, your dumb videos. But slowly over time, the dread starts to set in. It's like going to an ice cream parlour and being bombarded with an avalanche of possible flavours. But once you actually reach the cashier and you have to make a decision, the fear sets in. Oh, just get vanilla. Weirdly enough, this isn't just me being an idiot, it's actually a worldwide phenomenon, popularised by American psychologist Barry Schwartz, called the paradox of choice.
Paralysis is a consequence of having too many choices, and I think it makes the world look like this. Even if we manage to overcome the paralysis and make a choice, we end up less satisfied with the result of the choice than we would be if we had fewer options to choose from. With a lot of different salad dressings to choose from, if you buy one and it's not perfect, and you know what salad dressing is, it's easy to imagine that you could have made a different choice that would have been better. And what happens is this imagined alternative induces you to regret the decision you made, and this regret subtracts from the satisfaction you get out of the decision you made, even if it was a good decision. The more options there are, the easier it is to regret anything at all that is disappointing about the option that you chose.
I mean, how many times have we sat down desperately trying to find something to watch, scrolling through every streaming platform imaginable, before we inevitably fall back on our 50th watch through of It's Always Sunny, or stumble upon a random 4-hour-long YouTube video? You could be doing it right now. What makes this paradox of choice all the more apparent is when there's glaringly obvious problems with the products you choose between. I mean, if you walked into a supermarket and you had a choice between 3 bananas, one that was slightly gooey and out of date, one that was on fire and gave you mouth ulcers, one that was slightly racist and sent you Minions memes, I think you'd start shopping elsewhere. The problem with Marvel movies is there's not enough cheese. Sure, you've got Thanos and Captain America, but what about Brie Boy and Captain Babybel? Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Are you comfy? Well, I'll be damned, I sure do see a few familiar faces out there, along with some new ones. Well, come on in, get out from the cold, what are you doing? I'll go and put the kettle on. I just want to thank you again for all coming in and calling this little bungalow home for a few minutes, so let's sit on down, and as we normally say, are you sitting comfy? I'm comfy. Oh, that is much better. For those of you new faces, we like to start every morning talking through something I found on my big-headed travels into the wildlands, and today we've got an absolute doozy. Haven't we, Sir Silly Bonts?
Indubitably, Mr. Bighead, as I always say. That massive noggin of yours has quite the eye for interesting stories for our wonderful guests. And today is no different. It'll leave quite the impression, wouldn't you say?
Fuck. This is one of the hardest things I've ever done, and I died legally. Oh, Silly Bonts, I told you never to call that to my face, didn't I? Well, we may as well get right into it because, like I said, we've got quite a lot to get through. So today we're going to be going through the idea of impression farming. Yeah, I know. Impressive. And no, Sir Silly Bonts, I know when you hear the word farming, you probably think food's on the way. Impression farming as an idea has been around for quite a lot longer than many of us in this very room. Definitely not Sir Silly Bonts though, the raggedy sock, am I right? But as some of you may have started to notice, over the past few years this idea has started to run rampant. But what exactly is it? Plainly put, every day when you scroll through social media, every post, every image, every video of a panda falling down a flight of stairs that you scroll past registers as an impression. Yet throughout history, some people have always tried to find a way to game the system, with some people and publications founding entire careers on this very idea. Just like—
Sorry to burst your bubble, but reputable sources like BuzzFeed, Lad Bible and No Context Brits aren't posting hogwash like this for true journalistic integrity.
Yes, I was getting to that. Every social media site has all had to deal with their own version of this throughout the years, with each positioning itself on a varying scale of ethicality, ranging from wholesome ones like the Instagram egg to the dregs of YouTube clickbait and reply girls from the early days of YouTube, all of which try their darndest to try and hijack your eyes and your attention for their personal benefit, lining their pockets by taking your attention. Look no further than live stream farms plastered all over TikTok. Empty husks of a space become populated with thousands of fake influencers, armed with a trusty tripod and a ring light, with each of them streaming 24/7 to try and generate as many ice cream cones and roses as possible.
Don't forget click farms, you big-headed Neanderthal.
It's next in the line in the script. Will you please? Or even click farms, which are by no means a new thing, but have had a sudden resurgence with the explosion of TikTok, employing people to fake likes, bookmarks, views, shares on every possible social media site. Even on an individual scale, countless TikTok live streamers have been accused of using pre-recorded footage on multiple occasions to try and achieve as much passive income as possible.
Here is both of the screen recordings played next to each other. Nice try, Galaxy Kid.
Because if all a person is doing is talking to a camera and reading out names and thanking them, how are you going to ensure that they're reading the right names? They could just be making them up. Pardon my French for a minute, but Lord knows how many piles of drivel have been written on Facebook and LinkedIn solely using AI and chat goddamn GPT. I mean, look at this stuff. People believe it's real. What is that? Okay. If there's a way to do it quickly and easily, we'll find it. The system is broken. Sorry about that, but can we all pardon my French again for another moment, because we haven't even got to the worst fucking example of this.
Oh ho ho, big head, mind your language. There are kids in this abode. If you have to excuse your French one more time, we may have to exile you to the island of Elba. Ah!
No. Shut up, Greg. I made you. I fucking made you. and what's the thanks? What's the thanks I get for that? What's the thanks? What do you think the thanks I get for that was? you fucking sleep with my wife, Greg. 16 years. Yeah. I made you. 16 years. That's a lot longer than a lot of you have even been alive for in this hellhole. You want to know the funny thing? It was behind my back. I was making puppets in the shop. That's when it happened. For him. So, if you can, if you can find it in your heart, give me a goddamn inch of leeway.
But hold on there, bud. The kids need to be getting home soon, don't you think?
But the kids, there are no kids in here, Greg. It's just me and you. Isn't that funny? But I do see a child, a weak, insolent child who can only survive after feeding off the goddamn crumbs on my plate. He does have a point though. In 2019, Statista recorded that 20% of all impressions for programmatic advertising that was served digitally in the US, think like personalised adverts on Spotify, were fraudulent. And throughout the past 6 years, digital ad fraud was projected to go from a $35 billion industry to a $100 billion industry, with this only being supercharged by easy access to at-home AI services like ChatGPT, where it will just do all the work for you.
Hey you, are you tired of having money? Try our new cash vacuum. It literally sucks.
Now, be honest with me, how many of you instantly moved your finger over into that corner completely against your will? Adverts, the plague of this streaming era of content consumption we find ourselves in, giving us 30 seconds of unskippable torment whilst we contemplate our meaningless existences. But is it just me or are they getting much worse?
Hey, Chris, can you show me how to play?
Haven't we all had an interaction just like this, with a person in the front seat completely not pretending pretending to be asleep. And this is the biggest plot twist you're ever going to see.
It's easy, sweet cakes.
Sweet cakes. I'm going to call people that for about an hour. YouTube is now the second most popular search engine in the world, racking up 2.5 billion monthly active users. But what kind of adverts are the majority of those billions confronted with every day? Stuff that looks a little bit like this. I mean, who doesn't want to see that? Look at the glowing reviews. Today I saw my little boy Timmy playing this, and I thought it was an education for him, because I thought it was about whitening teeth. But when I saw the end, I gasped in horror when I saw a man on the bed topless. What is happening? There's the topless man. You can start to see why Timmy was so horrified. Okay, that was because of the topless man, but you sort of get what I'm getting at. Timmy isn't alone in his thinking here. It's not just the quality of ads that are getting worse, it's the quantity. And it's always the same advert. It's always the same structure. For some of you, like myself, I don't even know why I'm the target audience for this advert. The only thing you could consider close to being a game on my phone is the Compass app. I love seeing the little wheels spin about. YouTube's had somewhat of a strained relationship with brands since it first introduced its aptly named partner program in 2007. Over the years, various scandals, controversies, and adpocalypses has tainted the once loving, blossoming relationship between YouTubers and advertisers into one where they're definitely only staying together for the kids. Just like every unhappy marriage, there's one friend closely waiting in the background that's way too happy for the romantic fallout. And in this case, it's mobile game ads. YouTube offers such a wide scope of content that big boys like Disney and Nike may be somewhat wary what content promotes their brand image.
Twitch chat, I asked them and they said this dude named Chitterman wanted to send this to you.
Are you fucking kidding me?
But these demons, they don't care about their brand image, they just want viewers. This stage, it doesn't even matter if the adverts for the games that they're showing are even real. As long as it gets you to download their game, they don't care. YouTube's somewhat lax attitude towards advertisers has bitten them badly in the past, and it looks like the future may be repeating itself a little bit. With the most famous example being in 2019, where the Federal Trade Commission and the state of New York found that YouTube had illegally collected personal information from children watching kids' content on YouTube. That doesn't sound too bad, does it? Oh wait, hang on a minute. They had to settle $170 million because of that. You'd think, maybe, I don't know, that would put a stop to things. You'd be incorrect. Adverts are promoting games that are blatantly scammy and trying to get people to download their games, but it's okay because they've got a small tiny part of the advert ham-fisted into the game. It makes no sense. Again, I'm all for adverts. That's not the thing that I'm on about. Let the creators get that sweet, sweet cheddar cheese that they earn. It's the quality and quantity of the adverts that is infuriating. When I'm watching traditional television, you don't see the same Burger King advert back to back to back to back. It's got to a point now where so many people are outwardly using adblock to bypass these terrible ads that YouTube have started cracking down on it. So you can't even watch videos on the site. YouTube's solution to this is obviously everybody should buy YouTube Premium, but surely that can't be the only way. When you manufacture a system that relies so heavily on garnering as much attention as possible, offering no distinction between one impression that lasts half a second and another that changes someone's entire life, obviously everybody's going to look for the easy way to do it. That's like the Kardashians' whole deal. As time has gone on, most of these problems have been ameliorated in one way or another, yet in certain instances, the mere act of extinguishing that rampant fire has led to far-reaching changes for the site as a whole.
So when there was like 2011, 2012, they released Cosmic Panda, which is a whole new layout, and certain channels went,
yeah,
they were getting 80 million views a month from Penta 2.
It's never a perfect solution, but most of the major social media sites have tried to some extent to curb rampant impression farming. The same, however, could not be said for Twitter. And by the way, throughout the course of this video, there is nothing that will make me say X. I'm going to be calling it Twitter, so don't comment about it.
The major headline tonight involving media, power, and politics. Tonight, the world's richest man has just bought Twitter for $44 billion.
When Elon bumbled his way into buying the platform all the way back in October 2022, he made a bit of a whoopsie, as he made the totally relatable problem of buying something that was already inherently overvalued at $20 billion and spending a whopping $44 billion on it. We've all been there. But unlike the majority of his other companies that he somehow Fortnite emoted his way into success with, this one was proving a bit more challenging. Tesla, SpaceX, The Boring Company and all the other nonsense he shovels all offer products for us to purchase, so the ability to generate revenue for that is pretty basic. Even a Neanderthal like me can figure it out. Dum-dums sell more stuff. But Twitter is a free-to-use digital public space where people post memes. How you making money out of that? You're gonna charge people for how many memes they see a day? he tried that? After firing well over 6,000 employees, many of which are still trying to sue him, and introducing a broken verification system, it's fair to say it's not going well so far. The latter of those whoopsies accidentally unleashed the grossest torrent of garbage that platform has seen, and introduced a metric X ton of people trying to farm for impressions as quickly as they can. As a way to try and get people to sign up to Twitter Blue, X Premium, whatever it's called now, they started handing out insanely overinflated payouts to people that had already been verified on the platform for a while. Each payout was based on the number of impressions each individual had garnered, but you could only get the payout if you were subscribed to Twitter Blue X Premium. Although initially this seemed to be quite promising as it gave smaller creators the chance to make money on a site that previously had not been monetized. Artists, musicians, or people just posting funny ha-has could seemingly receive a sizable amount of income by posting on Twitter. People later realised that these massive incomes were actually due to accumulated historical impressions received on your Twitter account, opposed to a sign of consistent income. Over time, people slowly realised that it's not a realistic way to continually make money. That is, unless you're Mr. Beast, who received $264,000 from posting one of his videos on X. But also, the video sort of got promoted like it was an ad, like it got pushed to a lot more people, and it didn't say ad on it. And conveniently, Twitter are releasing X video, which obviously just sounds dodgy. So it's almost like he overly pushed the Mr. Beast video and gave it a lot of money, so everybody who copies Mr. Beast, which is pretty much every YouTuber, will be like, oh wow, I can put stuff on Twitter and make money as well. That's just not true, as I'm about to show you with this quote from JJ on the Impulsive podcast.
You know, I get pretty good impressions. I'd say like in the hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
And bro, monetization, I'm going into it. How much I've got for August, the whole of August, $1,590.
So, I mean, he could get like an apartment in Denver with that. If he
To other platforms for hundreds of millions on YouTube, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh my God, yeah, like I'm laughing on YouTube. Yeah. Whereas on Twitter, I'm like, all right.
If big old KSI is only making around £1,000 a month on Twitter, yeah. It's not the greatest idea, is it? As of April last year, Matt Binder from Mashable approximated that out of the initial 150,000 early subscribers to Twitter Blue, just around 68,157 have stuck around and maintained a paid subscription, meaning 54.5% are no longer subscribed. You have to assume that continued to trend downwards because at the end of last year, they reduced the barriers to monetization again. However, most of this stuff, I'm sure you've all heard before. Elon fired all the people that knew what they were doing, hired a bunch of yes men, sweared at all the advertisers, and now they've eternally left the site and left us with stuff like this. I mean, just as an experiment here, I've got my laptop set up in front of me and I'm going to time how quickly it takes me when I load up Twitter to see any form of impression bait and impression farming. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, the account has been created and we're about to go 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, okay, I don't care about no, oh my God, I don't care about any of this. Let's go technology, fashion, beauty, food, yes. What do you want to see? Can I not do this? Can I just... This is why I'm not a speedrunner. I don't want to follow Elon Musk. Do I have to follow someone? God, let's follow Elon Musk. Okay, that's all I want to follow. Go, 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 go. Okay, impression bait. No, that's just... Jesus, it's just Elon Musk. It's just Elon Musk! Impression bait! We're going to go again, though. How long was that? 38 seconds. We're going to see if we can find something else. Impression bait. That's another one. 42 seconds. Impression bait. What's that? 47 seconds. Elon's retweeted all of them, so it helps. Impression bait again. 54 seconds. God, this is the worst account. I'm just following Elon Musk. Impression bait. 2 impression baits in a row. I think it's fair to say people may have found a loophole. Nearly everyone you see with a blue tick is doing their absolute darndest to try and scrape back the cost of the subscription fee. It's a loophole. Even though the payouts aren't exorbitant, they're getting paid for the impressions they get. The more slot that they load out, the more impressions they basically steal, the more chance that they'll get of recouping that money. If they keep throwing out more and more slot, there's a higher chance that someone actually funny will retweet it with something funnier than what they've posted originally, and it will send their impressions to the moon, and they may finally recoup some of their subscription cost. I don't know how many more times I can cope with going onto Twitter and seeing what's your favourite Simpsons movie, or which 2 people matched each other's freak, or what is the definition of aura. Any of these things are just people desperately trying to crave back some sort of money on the platform. What once was a site that people went to see funny goofs and gaffs, share works of art, or see that video of a polar bear mascot struggling to stand up on an ice rink, has transformed into a one-stop shop for impression farming 18 plus bots. That's probably the best way to say it. And crypto scams. Now the ads that we have to sift through on a daily basis are actively trying to steal money from you. As reported in Bleeping Computers at the start of this year, Scam Sniffer reported that 6 out of 9 ads you see on your feed are a phishing scam, and that a cryptocurrency drainer named MS Drainer, promoted in Google search and X advertisements, had stolen over $59 million from 63,210 victims over 9 months. Basically, people clicked on adverts that you'll see all the time that look like this, and their attached crypto wallets were drained of all its money. But of course, that's not all. You see creepy adverts like this that allow you to undress people with AI. How disgusting is that? With all this garbage starting to accumulate, I'm going to try and summarise this nightmare as succinctly as I can. In doing so, I'm going to read a line from Joey Schiefer's Fortune article published earlier this year. Ready yourself for this. Last year, Elon diverted engineering resources to find out why his Super Bowl tweet did not get as many impressions as did President Biden's. That is real. My dad works at Nintendo, so I know who's in the next Smash Bros game energy. You want to know something even funnier than all of that? After the conclusion of the Superb Owl earlier this year, the official X business account put out a tweet saying, oh shit, a zeet, saying that it was the biggest Super Bowl on the platform with 10.5 billion impressions, 1.1 billion video views, and all that boring stuff. Impressive, right? But just 3 days later, again we're back with Matt Binder on Mashable, who suggested that according to data provided to them from CHEQ, an industry-leading cybersecurity firm, I had to Google it too, 75.85% of traffic X provided to their advertising clients during the weekend of the Superb Owl was fake! 75%! That is quite a lot when you look at the others. What's even more suspicious is when you see that Business Insider published this article just 10 days before the big bowl event. So his Superb Owl tweet did bad one time, and he faked a bunch of impressions to make the platform look better. That'll definitely bring Disney back. If the owner, executive chairman, and CTO of the platform that you spend so much time on is themselves impression farming, gaming the system, posting terrible memes like this without crediting where it came from, how are we supposed to survive?
When I studied engineering, everyone in my class used to suck him off all the time, but now even the hardcore engineering nerds that I know have started to dislike him. Elon Musk is everything that's wrong with Silicon Valley wrapped up into one fucking giant ball of like annoying 9gag memes, okay? Like, if you're an engineer, how the fuck do you respect a guy who literally doesn't do engineering?
Elon Musk is a singularly evil, wildly incompetent, befuddled, nepo baby, silver spoon motherfucker, a guy born under literally the wealth of apartheid, one of the most evil systems of oppression in the history of the planet.
Mark Zuckerberg has defended Facebook from accusations that it puts profits before user safety.
But we don't look at your messages, we don't listen on your microphone.
That these people are fucking idiots, and they have been the entire time.
I always find it incredible looking back on older TV shows, books, or movies that try and predict the downfall of humanity. They always put an insane amount of emphasis on robots. But now we can all safely say, as we've made it to the future, that those fools are all stupid.
Hello, Amika. I'm Jonathan Lee from Sky News Australia.
Hi, Jonathan. Nice to meet you.
Everyone is talking about artificial intelligence.
Taking over tasks that were once exclusively performed by humans.
Okay, they may have been onto something. Unless you've been living in Bikini Bottom for the past 5 years, you should know that we've become intimately familiar with the so-called bot invasion that's taken place across the internet. Oh my god. Bikini Bottom. Oh my god. That's so stupid. You can't escape it. They've got all the bases covered. Whether it's from being followed by people showing an insane amount of ass, crypto loopholes being posted under everything you see on the platform, or spamming links that promote some AI written nonsense that's populating all of Amazon's non-existent shelves at the moment. When are we going to go back and read some real fiction, am I right? In their simplest form, a bot is a piece of software that runs scripts to imitate human activity and perform automated tasks that could be considered too monotonous or time-consuming to keep constantly repeating. Whilst in the present day the phrase bot has sort of morphed into this weird catch-all for all things robotic, its origins are surprisingly wholesome. Conceptually, the phrase bot has been around since the late 80s, initially coming into the lexicon as an abbreviation of the word chatbot, with one of the earliest and most prominent examples of this coming from 1963. 63. Don't know why I'm squatting. This bot, known by the name Eliza, was created by computer scientist Joseph Weizenbaum, and in his own words, it aimed to make natural language conversation with a computer possible. In order to do this, Eliza took on the role of psychotherapist and would offer responses to individuals looking for queries or answers to things that troubled them in their daily lives. Think WebMD, but with a lot more all caps and seemingly a lot more sass. This was one of the typical conversations that Eliza would engage in. Man, they're all alike. In what way? They're always bugging us about something or other. Can you think of a specific example? My boyfriend made me come here. Your boyfriend made you come here? He says I'm depressed most of the time. I am sorry to hear you are depressed. It's true. I am unhappy. You are like my father in some ways. What resemblance do you see? You are not very aggressive, but I think you don't want me to notice that. What makes you think I am not very aggressive? You don't argue with me. Why do you think I don't argue with you? You're afraid of me. I know it's incredibly basic, but the fact that this stuff happened in 1960 absolutely horrifies me. Although Weizenbaum made the program to explore communications between humans and machines, much to his shock, many who used it started attributing human characteristics to Eliza. What a shock that is, humans being comforted by artificial intelligence. I'm putting a lot of emphasis on it. I don't know why I'm jumping on the spot. I've been recording this for an hour and a half and I've got quite a lot left. Flash forward to the year 1999 and the phrase bot has finally started gaining more of a malicious reputation, mainly thanks to the emergence of several scams, spams and viruses that were beginning to take advantage of people's naivety in the burgeoning world of the internet.
And first tonight, the mystery defect that's set to damage computers all over the world. The virus may affect any kind of computer at home, school or in the office.
One of the most infamous being spread through infected emails by the name of Pretty Park. Pretty Park was a worm sent through infected emails that would basically only contain the message test:"prettypark.exe smiley face, and sometimes would show an image of Kyle from South Park. Okay. Basically, once you opened it, it would start duplicating itself within your system, repeating this process every time you tried to open another application. And whilst this was going on, every 30 seconds it would try and email itself to every listed email in your address book. Brutal. In those days, scams used to spread like absolute wildfire, mainly because we were all sweet summer children, too innocent for the harsh realities of the internet, and definitely not because we were trying to get Black Eyed Peas songs for free. I mean, what else are we supposed to do? Buy a CD? Pay with licorice, coal and sadness? But as time has gone on, these scams, schemes and ruses have started to get a lot more elaborate. They can easily solve captures and they can fake human interactions like mouse moves, page scrollings, clicks and touch events on mobile. And that was all the way back in 2021. Can you imagine what it's like now? Back in the day, if you were going to construct a bot from the ground up, you would have to have a PhD in everything. Or you would follow along with a walkthrough on a website that sort of looked like this. Very trustworthy. I can see with the Illuminati eye that I should believe what it's saying. However, in 2024, you sort of just need a basic understanding of coding and how to use ChatGPT. Or you can just go on Fiverr and pick from one of these many things. Just look at them all. According to an ABC Science article written by James Purtill earlier this year, a computer scientist from Pakistan by the name of Awais Yousaf confidently stated that they can make a bot that could like comments on your behalf, make comments, reply to DMs, or even make engaging content according to your specification. When Purtill later asked them about the chances of Twitter's bot epidemic being solved in the near future, Yousaf responded with, "It's hard to remove Twitter bots from Twitter because Twitter is mostly bot," which sort of solidifies the horrifying nature of the reality that we found ourselves in. There's no way out of this situation, and if there was, the bot creators would just find a way around it as quickly as it takes for us to solve it in the first place. But why? Why would someone go through all this hassle just to do this? What do they even do? In the same vein of scams like Pretty Park in the early 90s, bots today operate using the same MO. They just want your clicks. Yet instead of limiting themselves to being transmitted through infected emails or random text messages sent to your grandmother at 4 AM, the net they cast now is much wider. Let's have a break from all of this and I'll paint you a word picture. Say you're scrolling through Instagram and you suddenly get a notification from Hot Hunk 27, but hang on, you don't know any Hot Hunk 27s. Are they a friend of the family? Or did you sit next to them in that boring uni lecture when you were watching Peep Show? Out of curiosity, you click on their profile and see they have 6 followers, but follow 68,000 people. That's somewhat suspicious. But you see in their bio a handy message along the lines of "free chicken in bio," followed by a link. And you're sitting there, you're thinking, I sure would love some chicken right now. I can't be bothered to pay for it. I mean, look at that attractive devil. They wouldn't be lying to me. So you follow the link, put a few details in, and bada bing, bada boom. No chicken? And they've stolen all your data? What about my cookies? Traditionally, the bot themselves isn't the actual scam, as written by Cheyenne McDonald for Engadget. They're often participating in affiliate programs, and all they need is to get people to visit a website, usually branded as an adult dating service. Scammers get a small amount of money, usually a few dollars, for every real user who makes an account. If you're following, commenting, liking, or posting underneath thousands or hundreds of thousands of posts a day, all you need is a few sorry fools who just want some chicken, and you've made money for the week. That's why you see a lot of these bots focusing on a certain clientele. I don't really know how to say this without saying adult words. So if any of you have innocent ears that are too pure for this world, cover them. And I'm going to clap or click because I don't have two hands. I'll click when I'm done, okay? That's why you see a lot of close your ears, you. Good. That's why you see a lot of these bots focusing on the sex work industry. They steal revealing photos from people's public Instagram, Facebook or Twitter accounts, use them as their own, whack nudes in bio or a peach at the end of every post that they say, and they just wait for the horny people to roll up. It's that simple. Well done if you saved your ears. This was the exact way painters got dumb common folk like me interested in art back in the day. Who cares about sad flowers or depressing waterfalls when I've got the plague to contend with? But whack a few people in revealing clothes and I didn't mean to there, that's disgusting. I meant to say Meredith, but I forgot what the word was. In a sense, these scams operate in a similar way to harpies from ancient mythos. They only need to lure in a few sad, probably horny, fishermen, and they're fed for a week. That's why the harpies always sat on those craggy rocks. It definitely wasn't for their posture, because look how uncomfortable this is. They always knew that they would get a steady stream of foot traffic rocking up to these desolate islands after ships have ported in or crashed into the nearby waves. And the bots, they do the same, but instead of sitting on a wet rock in the middle of a thunderstorm, they'd rather post stuff like, "Your videos are really beautiful, thanks for doing these. The level of intellectual rigour in this thread is unmatched. It's like having a front row seat to a masterclass in critical thinking. Kiss. I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn from such a diverse group of individuals. It's broadened my horizons in a way I never thought possible." Wow, such great poetry. Do you want to know what those posts were under? It was a Hat Films GeoGuessr video. Such a masterclass in critical thinking, kiss. Weirdly enough though, just like in the worlds of ancient mythology, harpies aren't the only creatures that you have to contend with if you're a lonely fisherman. Deep within the dark and murky waters of social media, there are other beasts in play. Yet this time their threats are a lot more tangible and a lot more impactful. Alright, gotta sync up. That never gets easier. Ready. If any of you watched my last long video where I talked about the doom of civilization and how technology is ruining our lives, you'd know I love to leave the worst things till last, and this time, sadly, is no different. In order to give this information the gravitas it deserves, from this point onwards, I'm going to try and reduce the silly goofs and gaffs and me looking like an idiot in front of a green screen. It's just going to be a lot of me sitting in this room, waffling, so get used to staring at my big head. Sorry about that. I should say as well, this next bit will start off as innocent and I'll probably sprinkle in a few little jokes. There's a Postman Pat joke coming up, but very quickly out of nowhere, we're going to start dealing with some very serious stuff. I'll make sure to warn you right before it's going to happen, but again, this is a pre-warning. And also just to say, some of the words that I'm going to say in the next part, I am going to have to blur out, but you'll understand it in the context. As we talked about all the way back at the start of the video, which feels like decades ago at this point, when you look at the statistics, it truly is mind-boggling to consider how many people actively use the internet on a daily basis. What baffles your brain even more is when you try and consider how much content is created on a daily basis. Whether it's a stupid tweet or an Instagram story talking about that goddamn Aurora Borealis that I'm still angry that I missed because I was watching an episode of Game Changers, it's very stressful. Okay, back to serious. On this site alone, over 500 hours of content is uploaded to the site every minute. And each day, users watch around 1 billion hours of YouTube content on their TVs alone. That is mental. What's weird though is even though there's been this big gargantuan explosion of people being able to access and use the internet on a daily basis, I would argue that as time has progressed, people's habits have got a lot more sedentary. If you can, try and think what your earliest memories of using the internet were. Now, flash forward to the present day, where's that sense of curiosity and adventure gone? Why aren't you loading up Disney Channel games on a daily basis? Some of you may not even know that existed. Have you forgotten about Zack and Cody kitchen commotion? Who will clean the floors? If we go back and look at some of the stats surrounding the most visited websites in the 2000s, the difference between the number 1 spot and the number 50 spot isn't that massive. But if you skip forward 24 years and look at the gap between the number 1 spot and the number 50 spot, you could fit a civilization in that. It's massive. And yes, I understand that a lot more people are using the internet now, and statistics for the early days of the internet aren't reliable in the best of cases. I mean, look at the name of this website. I mean, back then people were too obsessed with Banjo-Kazooie, am I right? Was that just me? I was a child. But it is alarming when you try and think how much daily traffic is honed in on these singular behemoths. How do they keep control of what's posted on a daily basis? How do you ensure that nothing slips through the cracks, that when people load up to see a TikTok every day, they don't see something truly horrifying? In the grand scheme of existence, the idea of content moderators are a relatively invisible and forgotten force, especially when you consider that out of the 5 biggest social media sites, if you count YouTube as social media, which a lot of people do now, cumulatively, all 5 of these sites only employ around 74,000 moderators. I've had more views on this channel and I don't even have 1,000 subscribers. And I certainly don't have over 1 trillion in net worth. Realistically, the only way many of you would have heard of the word moderator in the context of the internet would be through sites like Twitch and Discord. But they are instrumental in ensuring that every day when we wake up and doom scroll or look at any website, that we aren't left with generational trauma that scars us from ever going outside ever again. Yet they're entirely forgotten about. But why? What do they even do? As the name suggests, they moderate content, right? Seems relatively simple. Well, it's quite a bit more depressing than that. The life of a content moderator in the modern era of social media is so brutal and dehumanizing that most people writing posts on the very site that those content moderators moderate content on wouldn't believe it. In an incredibly simplistic and reductive form, content moderators are the last line of defense in the world of social media, ensuring that posts that wouldn't be considered advertiser friendly or brutally dehumanizing are never allowed to see the light of day. You know, in films like Endgame, Return of the King, or in shows like Postman Pat Saves the Camping Trip, content moderators do all the brutal, disgusting stuff that none of us want to do, like stopping Thanos or saving the camping trip, so that everyone off-screen can go about their daily business completely normally. But in this context, there's not multi-billion-dollar franchises confessing how fantastic and instrumental they are. In reality, they're just disregarded, overworked, understaffed, and underpaid. Okay, so the stuff about Endgame and Postman Pat, that was sort of the last ha-ha that you're going to see from me. This is the warning I was on about, by the way. From this point onwards, it gets a bit more real. So it's about to happen. So if you want to go, cool. Thank you for being here already. I'm also going to be doing a lot of looking over here in this period because I want to make sure I'm quoting things correctly. You can already tell my tone has shifted because this is what I actually talk like. This is my serious voice. In order to accurately articulate what it's like for life as a content moderator on social media in the modern era, I'm going to be reading quotes directly from 2 articles. This is where I'm looking off to. Those being the account of moderator Josh Sklar, as described in the byline supplement Inside the Hell of Working as a Social Media Content Moderator, written by Andrew Kersley, followed up by Casey Newton's article for The Verge from 2019 titled The Trauma Floor, The Secret Lives of Facebook Moderators in America. As I've done throughout this video, there'll be a handy little graphic probably somewhere down here that will indicate which article I'm reading from. Again, if you are interested in this, I do recommend reading both of these articles. They are incredibly interesting. Just to contextualize what I've been waffling about so far, let's go to one of the articles. For Josh Sklar, every day started to blur into sitting at his desk. He would spend the next hours filtering through manifestos, Indonesian car wrecks, human notes. Moderation is all about making social media actually more usable, rather than filled with a never-ending stream of death threats and corpses. Sklar then goes on to describe how laughably low the income moderators receive for enduring this psychological torment, stating that someone Sklar knew got paid £1.80 an hour. In Newton's article, they mention how in Phoenix, a moderator will make just $28,000 a year, whilst the average Facebook employee earns $240,000, which is mind-boggling when you realise that each platform would not survive without these moderators. Moderators work in cramped, dimly lit offices plastered with overly positive and disgustingly cutesy murals that sharply contrast the truly abhorrent things that they have to subject themselves to on a daily basis. A regular content moderator on a good day will scroll through up to 700 posts. They are consistently scrutinised from upper management and work under immense pressure, as just a few mistakes can cost them their jobs. If this happens, by the way, the NDAs that you sign when you start working at these jobs are so ironclad that you may as well never have worked there in the first place. There will be no record of you. You can't even tell your family and friends what you do for work. This is why a lot of content moderators aren't directly employed by the firm, like Facebook or Meta or TikTok or Twitter or whatever it's called nowadays. They supposedly work for third-party contractors, which also allegedly helps if any trauma or instances occur with the moderators, because then the actual firms themselves aren't directly liable. We'll see that very soon. That was my side mouth voice, trying not to get in trouble. Okay, that was the last giggle. Just as an attempt to quantify the nightmarish reality of this, in The Verge's article, Casey Newton writes that those who remain live in fear of former colleagues returning to seek vengeance. The only time at a workplace you should be worried about colleagues returning to seek vengeance is if you work for the Justice League and Superman goes all weird. Non-superpowered people should not be dealing with vengeance. One former moderator that Newton spoke to that he called Randy reiterated this point, saying that on several occasions, moderators would wait for him in the car park to try and intimidate him into changing his ruling. They also implied that due to the sheer mass of content that they had to subject themselves to on a daily basis that discussed conspiracy theories, that some of the co-workers started to believe in these conspiracy theories. All the while in the background, cries could be heard from the bathroom, with people trying to comprehend what they're having to witness on a daily basis. But not only witness it, they have to judge them. They have to try and comprehend the worst of us. Consider the fact that what these people have to subject themselves to on a daily basis, just 0.5% of it would drive us insane. Add on top of that they're consistently under pressure to not make mistakes and they're timed by upper management because they could get fired within a week. And add on top of that you're not only seeing this horrifying reality, but you have to try and quantify the person's meanings behind posting it. You have to be an arbiter for some of the most depraved things that the human mind could even comprehend. And then go home and act like nothing's happened. That is literally the plot of Severance. If you're sitting in an office staring at a computer for 8 hours, it forces you to try and comprehend the worst of us, where you have to judge if someone calling someone else a slur is a sign of endearment or deep-rooted hatred, if what you've seen technically qualifies as a danger to national security, if one singular person is responsible for that entire decision just by moving a mouse and clicking it, in a timed situation, of course your entire sense of self would begin to shift and warp. Every decision would rack you to your core. You would not be able to sleep. The depravity of humanity will never leave you. This is exacerbated by another former moderator that Newton spoke to called Lee, who goes as far to say, we were doing something that was darkening our soul. What's more depressing is when you actually look and read about their truly laughable excuses for in-house therapy, such as the glorious 9 minutes a day that they're allowed to stay away from their computer that quantifies wellness time. How nice of them. Or, as was the case for someone that Kersley spoke to, some truly absurd or dehumanising meditation exercises. You're going to want to close your eyes for this. They told me to imagine a square in my favourite colour, and then to imagine that square growing larger and larger, and coming at you until it encompassed your entire field of vision. Do you feel calm yet? No? What a shock! We'll get back to work anyway. Of course, each tech firm will consistently affirm that they're trying to improve working conditions for moderators and that things are slowly improving. But when you see news stories like Elon Musk firing over 3,000 moderators in some of his first days working at Twitter, and that he dissolved Twitter's Trust and Safety Council within his first few months of owning it, it doesn't fill you with too much hope. Although every now and again stories like this will pop up where Facebook had to pay $52 million in a landmark settlement to moderators who had developed PTSD whilst working there. But now, 4 years later, surely everything's fixed? It's got to be alright. Surely. Of course not, because every few months you still see former moderators who are completely anonymous in articles trying to let their stories be told. Just this January, Reuters came out with a story on a Spanish court ruling that a Facebook content moderator suffered work-related mental trauma. What was Meta's response to this? You know, the company that owns Facebook? They declined to comment because they're not party to the case in question because the moderator worked for a third-party contractor. Fam, it's your website.
Whilst we're in the endgame here, I want you to do something for me. Try and picture in your mind what your earliest memories of the internet are. Can you do that for me? Could have been cool maths games or Club Penguin or that really cool SpongeBob game that was set in like medieval times. That one ripped. The beauty of the internet is that due to the vast variety of options available, your first experience is going to be vastly different to my own. Some of you may have been even tinier than me when you first got access to it, or shockingly, some of you may have grown up without the internet. What a horrifying thought. I mean, if you were to come up to me when I was a tiny little lad, hunkered in front of my mum and dad's N64, absolutely crushing the Mad Monster Mansion level of Banjo-Kazooie and say, in a quick and breezy 10-year span, you could play this exact game, just don't look at the reviews or what the game's about, on a magical thing called the internet with your bestest buds in the entire world and that one 40-year-old man that sort of won't leave you alone no matter how many times you try and kick them from the party, they just kept joining. And yes, if you're watching this, Richard, I am on about you. How are you doing? I would have gone full on yeah and broken that hella confusing controller over my basketball-sized head. But now if you were to come up to the older, more boring version of me and say, guess what, they're finally making that exact Banjo-Kazooie game that you traced over the box of when you were a tiny little child. It's got everything that you wanted. I think I'd probably pass on it. It's like what I alluded to all the way back at the start of this video with Barry Schwartz's paradox of choice. Thanks to a near limitless supply of content that be consumed as fast as we can possibly imagine, combined with the advent and constant evolution of all different kinds of media, it can often feel like we're missing out on something more, that we're simply wasting the seconds that we have left on this precious little marble by not watching Stupid Man Says Stupid Stuff episode 45. I heard that's a good one. It's no surprise that we started yearning for a simpler time before all this nonsense, before the time of feeling an overbearing sense of dread whenever one of your favourite artists, directors or media franchises announces an upcoming project. And I mean, we have our reasons for feeling this way. Do you know how devastated I was when on Christmas I opened up Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts and it was a driving game? I convinced one of my friends to get that game. Yes, George, I'm talking directly to you here. I'm so sorry. I loved the original Banjo-Kazooie. I didn't want you to play a driving game. God, I lost so much credibility. That's years of pent-up aggression there. George, if you're watching this and you're still here, I'm sorry. I'll probably make a video about it at some point. Back when you could inhale all 420 episodes of Grey's Anatomy in one sitting and live zeet as you went along without feeling a sense of, will my employers see that? That was beautiful. But now, instead of trying something new or broadening our horizons, most of the time the default mode is stick to what you know. Sure, as time goes on, our interests begin to wane and change, but as soon as we start to show any semblance of autonomy, there's a select bunch of corporate folks who don't like that very much. They want our eyes. Hopefully not actually. Look no further than the news of streaming mergers that's been popping up all over the news recently. They've consciously made worse projects because they thought they didn't have to try as hard. They thought people would eat up any slot that's given to them. There was a time where a Netflix original movie or series guaranteed the quality of the show. But now, after shows like this, and films like this, and reviews like this, people have stopped eating it up. Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and the very concept of social media is no different. They'll introduce video to make sure you don't watch YouTube. They'll introduce short form to make sure you don't watch TikTok. They'll introduce slightly racist memes because, well, that's just Twitter doing that, and I guess that's groundbreaking, so well done for you. Even if this doesn't work, they'll just wait until one of their other competitors is in a little bit of hot water, and they'll buy their whole business. But don't worry, you shouldn't worry about all of that, because they post memes. They're just like us. Rather than prioritising the improvement of the app that made them so successful in the first place, they're trying to think of ways they can get their little claws further into us. Like that quote from Zuck I used all the way back at the start of the video. The app that made Farmville popular wants to be more important than the stuff that's making my room bright.
In its creation, social media was a neat tool to ensure that you keep in contact with your friends and family and don't miss out on any important events in their lives. But as the internet has ballooned in scale to the size it is today, each site has decided to scale along with it, prioritising forming connections with people you've never heard of rather than solidifying the existing ones you have in the real world, and ensuring that you're consistently trying their products and never trying anything new from anyone else. And if you are spending more time on one app than another, they'll buy it to make sure that you're still technically spending time on their app. In a world that's so disconnected, where loneliness is an all-time high, and that's saying something because we were in an actual pandemic that made it so we couldn't go outside for 2 years, the ones that we've left in charge of rebuilding those bridges that were broken are multi-billionaires. The ones that are so out of touch with the world, they use meme formats from 2008. Out of everything that's been said in this video, that is the thing that bugs me the most. Wow, you can use an online meme generator. Cool. You're just like me. That's why a lot of the time we yearn for the easiness of our childhood, because we were present in the moment. We weren't worrying about future deadlines or whether something I posted on YouTube got as many likes as my last video. There's only a few things that you can be certain of in this life, one being that the world is cyclical. Trends and fads, cultures come and go as quickly as they appear in the first place. For now it may seem like all doom and gloom, like this big-headed idiot has been waffling for what feels like 14 hours at this point, so much so that my voice hurts quite a lot and my kitten is very angry, and it feels like there's no end in sight. But don't lose heart, because one day when you ultimately break your gaze from all these distractions and finally live in the present, you'll be amazed at how quickly you forget about what stupid little problems troubled you before, and start looking ahead to find another stupid meme to show your mates. Hello, potentially the end of the video, whenever I put this in. I'm now going to make a sock puppet, which I haven't done since why have I got these glasses still on? I'm going to make a sock puppet, which I haven't made probably since I was about 6, and I don't have any glue, so we're just going to see what happens. I'm good with computers and editing. I am not good with my hands. Here is an elephant I made out of plasticine that someone got me as a Christmas gift. I will now repurpose said gift. We're going back to old reliable. We're gonna stick this eye in using the magic of stabbing it. But I just do think that's good. But you can't really see his hat. He's just quite goofy looking. And aren't we all? Who amongst us cannot say they are goofy looking? Because I absolutely am. If your wife is cheating on you whilst you're making this, you've got problems, bud. But let me tell you a little bit about that. That's a sock puppet. Is this going to work though? Because now I've got to put the hand in the bastard. I am stabbing myself. That is right where my fingers need to go. Because I didn't factor in the fact. Shit! Why can't I just go, oh, you know what, Henry? Just do like what Jenny Nicholson does and sit in front of a camera and talk. Those videos, I watch a fuck ton of them. I watch them all the time. And now my brain goes, you know what? In chapter 2, instead of fucking talking in front of a green screen, why don't we make a fucking sock puppet? And even now, I'm like, oh, let's not just make a fucking sock puppet. Let's try and make an articulated mouth. Because I think it will look cooler in a 45-second gag. What about upside down? Hold the phone. But what if we go from under and then stab it up? Oh! Holy shit. Holy shit, it's a hat! Okay, everybody. Battle stations. Okay, these eyes may be too big. He's like, oh my god, I got one eye. And if I see any of you in the fucking comments saying his hat keeps moving, I'm gonna make you a sock. I'm gonna make you into a sock puppet. Okay, I need to actually do the words now. Okay, what other words have we got? Indubitably, Mr. Bighead, as I always say, that message has not been with you. So, how the fuck do I do this? Because I need to see where I'm going.